You know, the more I think of this, the more I realize this might simultaneously be both the best and worst loop. In terms of entertainment, maybe the best loop for me, but worse because had this man, it doesn't matter whether he turned out to be a Gnosia or not, it didn't matter. We now know that if the rules aren't followed, the whole ship will self-destruct after a day. I guess going forward, this will now be a fear, but in terms of initial revelations, this might be the worst thing we just saw. Holy shit, they can all blow up if people don't play by the rules. There does seem to be like a habit of like once we're into a new group of characters, at least one of the new ones kills us. Yo, why do they have to give this alien man such cake? God damn. They really wanted to show off his glute game. Okay. Respect. What is wrong with this man? They literally just said they're asexual. He's like, I'll still hit it. I'll still hit. Learn your place, you fucking sex pest. Oh my god, so if you send... That's kind of a wild pull. So if they all vote the dude who won't come out of the room as a Gnosia, and he doesn't come out to go to cryo sleep, they all blow up. This makes it he almost has like a, I'm not gonna get voted out because you won't risk blowing up the ship. I do like that despite this being like a looping death game, you do get a genuine sense of slice of life in a fairly solid way more often than not. Be awkward if Captain and dude in the door were both the Gnosia though, because that would be a good, obviously the Captain wouldn't let him in, and one would stay behind to make sure they're safe. What? So you're telling me we can use that to have a Gnosia expose themselves because of how his personality is? Oh my... I'm gonna say Dolphin is my final answer. Dolphin is my final answer. I should have stuck with my first answer. Hey you got this far in the video, you make sure you drop a like, share your support, subscribe if you're new around here, of course Patreon, full live reactions and exclusives to all these wonderful episodes if you're so interested and also want to help fund the channel. Let's jump into it. I think one of my favorite things about the mechanics when it comes to the Gnosia anime is the fact that characters are still themselves, even if they're possessed by this monstrous spirit thing, right? So we now can add the captain here as a piece of detail, that if we want to potentially have a way to know if he's human or not, the competitive nature of him, that if he ends up winning a game, he very well will just expose, well, of course I won, I'm a Gnosia. And then we can know. Now, is that going to work every time? No. I think the reason this one worked as well as it did is we had a very unique scenario of fun characters who wanted to play a game, right? I mean, it was a very strange group that I think is going to be hard to replicate, especially if you consider some of the more stick-up-their-ass oriented personas we've had in the show. But overall, it's a very unique scenario because I did get it wrong at the very end, and I should have gone back on my initial theory because I really thought what it was going to be was Buddy who locked himself behind the door and the captain. And I really doubled down around the key moment. So basically, Bro in here, who's one of the new characters, says, I'm not coming out because I don't want to get killed. Honestly, not a bad logical reason to stay inside. I'm sure there'd be at least one character who didn't want to go to meetings. Unfortunately, things weren't opening up, and Bro comes in with the key and says, like, yeah, we found it, but the key doesn't work. Around that point, I thought to myself, it would make a lot of sense if the person who was also a Gnosia didn't want to open up the door where a Gnosia was behind. Now, granted, I don't think a key was going to open it anyway, because we see later in the episode that he kind of had it, like, barred. So, like, at the end of the day, was a key ever going to open it? No. But at the same time, it's hard to say. I'm still wondering about the key, right? Because in future loops, when we have this character a part of the crew and he doesn't want to come out, if we find the key again, will the key work sometimes? Because if it does work sometimes, that will mean that this whole dynamic happened the way it did was because a captain covered for him. So there's a lot of information. That's the thing, right? Unless you have like a spreadsheet keeping track of all the individual quirks, it's going to be very difficult off the top of your head to remember everything, and I think that's what makes it so fun, because what I ended up doing by the time he left, like literally 10 seconds after I switched my prediction, I said, you know what, it's going to be that goddamn dolphin. Yeah, then it wasn't. This is what's so fun, though, because they reveal information about the ship in such a way that, honestly, I think his reaction here is probably about it. The ship being able to self-destruct isn't surprising. It's the fact that if you were to, say, vote someone out and they didn't go into cryostasis, or you refuse to vote someone out and no one gets eliminated or whatever after that 24 hours, there's a mechanic that it will all go boom. A hermit who traps themselves in is kind of wild because we still don't know what the Gnosia's true purpose is other than eliminating. What's to say there wouldn't be a loop where the Gnosia's entire purpose is to not eliminate anyone or let anyone be frozen so that the whole ship blows up? Because if Stella is the one who gets controlled, Stella we now know is the AI of the ship. I mean, they revealed a few weeks back that basically the government or whatever put her on the ship, but I didn't realize, and I don't think it was revealed until this episode, unless I missed some details, that essentially this is a humanoid body of the ship, which makes sense why Ship's trying to say, hey, I'm not going to get into friendship or even romance, even if this alien man has a fat ass. There's so much information they dropped, and I think while there was that one loop where I'm pretty sure no one died, either we had one loop where no one died or one loop where one person died, either way, it's arguably one of the most peaceful loops because the first Gnosia we eliminate does so because they expose themselves, because they're like, whoopsies, I got a little too into my game, and then the other one does it because it just feels defeated. And what we know about the Gnosia is they still keep the core characteristics of their personalities even after they become these characters, right? That's why Setsu was able to talk with us when they were a Gnosia. I definitely had some suspicion about the quiet kid here, but I don't know, there was, for some reason, I kind of gave it a pass. I think out of all the characters, though, that are going to be freaky, I think Killer Dolphin is going to be the one that scares me the most. I don't know, like, if you know anything about dolphins, man, like, they arguably have the same level of intelligence or close to it as humans, and I mean, really, if they had opposable thumbs, what type of shit they could do, I don't know. But even their own, like, natural behaviors are pretty kind of freaky with what they do, and it's some war crimes, really. I don't know where we're gonna go here, because we had 3 new characters this week. But honestly, I felt like, despite having 3 new characters, it felt like the episode I knew the most. Maybe it helps because now we're 7 episodes in, right? So now I have a better understanding of how the formation of everything works. But there was something just so, like, we were hanging out with a group of friends. Yes, we knew 2 of them were going to try to kill us, but, you know, rip Jinnah, but otherwise they did pretty freaking good. But now I gotta go in the future knowing that this whole ship could blow up. I think we learned a lot, though, this week. I think maybe we've learned some of the most out of all of it. I'm still waiting for Yuri to potentially be a Gnosia, which I don't know how they would do because as the player / as the main character you're following, how would they be able to fool us? Maybe even Yuri wouldn't realize they're the Gnosia until the instincts take over. I don't know. It's hard to say. But either way, I love this episode. It's just, out of all the episodes, they kind of made it feel the most devastating and peaceful all in one, and I don't know how they did this, but I'm very impressed. I don't know, you can let me know your thoughts down below. What did you think of this week's episode, and who was your initial 2 predictions? Because I thought it was either going to be I knew it was going to be one of the new characters. I had a high suspicion of the dude behind the door, and I didn't trust that dolphin. I didn't see the captain coming until, like, I did think to myself, you know, it would make sense if the captain was, because I really had that suspicion of the new guy, but I was like, I can't say for sure. So the idea then them working together made sense, but I really thought that dolphin was going to kill us in a brutal fashion. But honestly, one of the funniest episodes for sure. Let me know your thoughts and theories though down below and where it might go. Drop a like, share, support, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, Patreon full live reactions and exclusives. Like I also like to give video shows to my wonderful patrons who make this all possible. So today we got Jay Vorty, Daniel Costco, Archivis, Connor Brown, GR Vallis, Pav, Ruben Sinaha, and we also have Santa Clore. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. You know, have a good one.